My name is Melanie Gertis. I'm the licensed counselor for Victoria College, and we have Taryn with Midcoast Family Services to do the Domestic Violence Awareness Month workshop presentation for you. And so if you want to get started, do you know how to unmute yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Tiaren Harvey. I'm a victim advocate with Midcoast Family Services. I'm just here today to go ahead and spread some awareness and to let you know we're here. And also, I want to let y'all know we are at the college in the Student Service Center every Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So if y'all ever want to come check us out, you need to talk to someone or just come see where we're at. We're over there in the Student Service Center. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay, okay. So, as you all are aware, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And DVAM has been around and launched nationwide in October 1987 as a way to connect and unite individuals and organizations working on domestic violence issues while raising awareness for those issues. This year's theme is We Are Resilient. You are not alone. We stand against domestic violence and we are strong. Okay, let's turn up the heat. Tonight, I wanted to spread awareness of how we can help a person that is in an abusive relationship and help some understand more of what they would be going through while in this abusive relationship. There is always one thing us as a community can do to help have a voice for those who are in this situation and for those who have survived this situation. Domestic violence impacts millions of people each year, but it can be prevented. It requires the collective voice of power of individuals, families, institutions, and systems, each whose one thing adds a valuable and powerful component to transforming our communities. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about domestic violence. It can include physical, sexual, emotional, verbal abuse, also financial and psychological abuse. Some people may not think emotional abuse is a type of abuse because it cannot be seen with marks and bruises, but this type of abuse can leave an even bigger scar on the inside. Domestic violence is a pattern of behaviors used by one partner to maintain power and control over another partner in an intimate relationship. So I'm going to bring some awareness to you guys. Um, sorry. Nearly 20 people a minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the US. In 1 year, 10 million women and men. Domestic violence does not always end when the victim escapes the abuser, tries to end the relationship, or seeks help. It can be or feel like forever when you're in this situation, or even if you're someone helping a survivor to leave the situation. Domestic violence is an epidemic affecting individuals in every community, regardless of age, economic status, sexual orientation, gender, race, religion, or nationality. 1 in 7 women 1 in 18 men have been stalked by an intimate partner. At least 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men are victims of severe violence from a partner at some point in their life. This is not okay. Abuse is never justifiable. So this here just shows some of the numbers. You can read there 14 women killed by family members every year, 6 men killed by family members every year. And it's both. It's not a gender role. It could be a man, it could be a woman going through this. A lot of times, some of the statistics are not always true because a lot of times men, are kind of afraid to come out with it, and talk to someone about it. So I just wanted to kind of put that awareness out there. So what does domestic violence look like? There are many forms of abuse. First one I'm going to talk about is physical abuse. This could be anything from hitting walls, throwing objects near victim, damaging things, just withholding things from them. Sometimes I had a client who their abuser left, her husband left, and he had control over like when they would eat and things like that. So it could be anything from there, and that kind of goes into financial also. Sexual abuse. So sexual assault and attempted sexual assault, that happens a lot in intimate partner relationships. Forcing, coercing victims to have sex with others, undermining victim sexuality, criticizing sexuality, performance, or desires. Emotional and verbal. That's a really big one also. Like I said, a lot of times you don't notice this because you don't see scars. A lot of times it's just they'll think, oh, it's me, and they kind of they'll control the victim on what they would say to other people. I had one that they were using the immigration status, like they would tell the cops on them for being here, and so that's a lot of emotional abuse. Okay, so financial abuse, keeping control over finances, controlling the victim's own income, even making the victim pay for everything, every expense, making victim justify what they're spending their money on, how much they spend. That happens a lot also. And psychological abuse. Basically threatening to harm themselves. Oh, they'll say, oh, I'm going to kill myself. Threatening to kidnapping the kids or kidnapping them. Isolating the victim from friends and family. That's a big one also. A lot of times they slowly, show that they're going to, oh, let's go here today. We don't need to be around your mom today or something. And slowly that turns into isolation. So here's a big one. I just kind of wanted to put this out there and let y'all read it. The iceberg of things is basically one of the most dangerous and insidious truths about domestic violence is that it's easy to ignore if it's not visible. So a lot of times, like I said, this kind of goes with the emotional part of it also. You don't see things. And then, like it says in here, turning a blind eye on things, pretending not to notice. A lot of times they're kind of scared like the family would get hurt, so people will act like they don't see. Like an iceberg, there's a lot more than what is visible above the surface. And that's true for individuals, communities, and cultures. So that goes all the way through, You could try to get some help, but it still could be a little bit more to that, to why they start to get help and then they back off from it. So there's a lot more to that. Okay, strangulation is a big one. I wanted to kind of explain a little bit more of this one and go into it. A lot of times, whenever someone is strangled, they kind of make it smaller than what it is. Oh, he choked me, or he barely put his hands around my neck, or she put her hands around my neck. But a lot of times, this can lead to death or other things like later on in life. During evidence of strangulation, closing off the airway makes breathing impossible, and a victim may lose consciousness due to the blocking of the blood flow and from the brain. And so the victim, I'm sorry. Okay, so how can there be no visible injuries to cause death? Basically, in your neck, there is a carotid artery and the jugular vein. And these two veins are very important. The victim of strangulation can have critical injuries and late onset symptoms from being choked. So if you look at this here, the internal jugular vein, all it could take is 6 pounds of force to make you get choked out, or just like have symptoms as like fainting. The jugular veins are what drains the blood from the brain, face, and the neck, returning it to the heart. So these are veins that stand out like on the side of your neck there. And we don't think, it's too serious, but it is really something it is really important to be safe with that, because it's easy to put out the airway there. And then here is 22 pounds of force, and that's the internal carotid artery. Basically, I'm showing the picture there because that's about how much force it would take. The carotid artery are located in both sides of your neck that deliver the blood from your brain to your head. And then it could take 80 pounds of pressure to cut off it, to impede the airway. So that's someone putting their hand around your whole neck there. And basically, when you shake someone's hand, that's about how much force it could take to impede the airway. This here is the power and control wheel. It is used to help understand the overall pattern of abuse and violent behavior. Physical and sexual violence, that's the outer ring. And then using intimidation, we have using emotional abuse, using isolation. That's some of the things that they would use, that an abuser would use to try and gain control of a survivor. And a lot of times you can stay in this wheel, and you don't realize that you're just turning and turning, and they just keep doing other things, and you stay, like I said, isolation, minimizing, denying, and blaming, just kind of making you feel like, it kind of makes you feel like you're crazy, like just to feel like they're in control. And then cycle of violence. So basically, this is the tension building phase, and violent episodes, remorsal, and honeymoon phase. So basically, you go from them hitting you, choking, humiliating you, rape, using weapons, and then batter. They'll tell you they're sorry, and family support, and you'll never do it again, and let's make love, or let's go on a trip or something. So it just starts, first, like I said, it starts with the nitpicking, then the choking, and everything else, and then it goes to the honeymoon phase, to where like you're going back in a circle and circle. A lot of times, some want to know, why don't she leave, or why doesn't he leave? Well, it's not easy to just leave. Um, they are always told they're the ones to blame, so they feel like it's their fault. Like I said, the financial abuse, a lot of times it's hard to, kind of learn, to get back and get a job and kind of fend for yourself, because they're so used to being, in control by this abuser. Mental and emotional abuse that has lowered their self-esteem. So a lot of times they lose their independence and they don't want to be alone, and so it's just easier to stay for them, because they don't know how to start all over, and to pick themselves back up. Okay, and I wanted to kind of go over this story with y'all, just kind of so you could see, kind of understand how she would feel and why she stays. So she met a nice guy. Everyone loves him. He's so fun and charismatic. Things were good, really good. Slowly, things started to turn weird. He only wanted to hang out with his friends. He made a good point about why she shouldn't see her friends. So this is the isolation. This is where isolation starts. Ooh, sorry. Then he started to point out some things of why she didn't like things about she didn't like about herself. So her self-esteem started to diminish, and she started to wonder, why, uh, you know, I guess something is going on with me. It's me. This is kind of him putting the blaming on her. Then he took her on a vacation, and she just felt so in love, and everything was going good, kind of like getting back into the honeymoon stage. Then she started to, then she did something that was unforgivable. She folded the towel the wrong way, and that made him upset. But he was sorry. He had a bad day at work. He really apologized and brought her something nice. And so back again in the honeymoon stage, like I said, the circle of violence, they're kind of, you stay in a circle. Then he kept having bad days at work, and she kept doing things wrong. If only she worked harder and made things better for him at home, then it would be okay. So again, now she's still putting the blame on herself. So then he took her on another vacation. But it wasn't the same place. She didn't like it. But she loves him. So she doesn't want to say anything. Like I said, being alone, she didn't want to be alone. So here's some of the things that happened in that story there. The isolation, it was emotional abuse, financial abuse, extreme isolation. Basically, him telling her she doesn't need to be around her friends, and taking her off to vacations, just keep her away from everyone. But it wasn't always bad. And the abuser always knows how to throw some good in there, right when the victim is getting to the breaking point. So that happens too, like I said, the honeymoon phase, and then you're just kind of going back into the circle. So here's one thing you can do. Sorry. Oh. Here's the one thing that you can do. I'm sorry, I'm going to show y'all a video. Let me get that. 1 second. Practically he's trying to get my fault. Sorry. Okay, can we just turn the engine off, please? Yeah. Just go ahead and put the keys on the dashboard. And do you mind stepping out of the vehicle?
you, sir.
I'm sorry, I'm really.
You guys drinking at all? No? Passenger has been separated from bail. Bail still in the driver's seat. Okay.
Morning. Like doing a photography project for my kid in Carolina, and like he was getting mad at me because he doesn't believe in it. And like me, so he like puts me out of the van, and then I just get like even worried. Because it's like a timeout. Like he just like locks me out of the van because like I just get really emotional.
Locked you out?
Yeah.
For how long?
I calm down.
And how long does that usually take?
Sometimes like like I understand I get like a little bit mean when I'm like stressed out. It's been a hard morning.
Here, just take a seat. I tell me your side of the story.
Yeah, I just spoke to you in the same thing, like, and she kind of just exaggerated and she kind of
Episode?
yeah, I mean, she gets a little crazy. I mean, you know how women get.
Yeah, I know. My wife gets a little crazy too sometimes. Are you thirsty?
I don't have plastic water bottles because I get bad back and I have to drink water.
Just put it right here.
Yeah, we actually had a great morning today. Took a lot to do on this hike. We gotta go entertain, go prep and all that. And she was just taking her time with some project. I still don't even get it. It's like some little skincare product. I don't know, but it was just taking her so much time, and it made us start arguing. And I guess I started yelling, and like, it's nothing big, you know what I mean? I know I get the driving, that was crazy. I'm really sorry about that, guys. She was just distracting me until we get, I apologize. She was just taking her time with some little project, some little skincare product, and yelling. It's nothing big, you know what I mean?
What is that on your arm? Is that a cut or a bite mark? What exactly is that?
She was just getting really close and trying to bite. I don't know, and I just like created a distance and kind of like pushed her away, but like because I didn't want to hit her. I didn't want to hit her, so I just got a distance between us. But I feel alright. It doesn't hurt or anything.
Now,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just really embarrassed because like I didn't mean to get anybody at all.
We've been traveling out of this van. I could show you our Instagram. Like we've been going across the country, and
those are some really nice photos. It looks like you guys travel quite a bit. Have you hiked around here?
yeah, we saw like the Grand Canyons.
That's nice. Yeah.
I think these cops will let you guys know if you have to. But I want you to know one thing. If you feel like you're in any kind of harm or at risk, you can let me know. You can be honest with me. Do you feel like you're in any danger?
If he said, I don't think
I don't think so. Well, listen, you guys cannot be hitting each other. Okay, you're both in here think that we're here because of this reckless driving. We're here because of what he said. He saw him slapping you. And let me tell you something, woman to woman, not conscious of your own. I know you love your boyfriend, but you need help. You both need help. You guys cannot be out here in constant altercation with one another. You know, regardless of what the outcome is today, if you feel uncomfortable or at risk in your relationship, you need to go home and be with your friends and family. You need to be in a safe setting. The next thing, you guys need to separate so that you guys can get the help and therapy that you need. Now, the cops are here to help you, and we have good intentions. But sometimes domestic abuse can be disguised. And you yourself may not even know. The person over there, he's convicted of driving to the cops. Yet you're sitting here crying and looking like a crazy one. First, you don't have to be embarrassed or ashamed here. So just get the help that you need. Hopefully you can convince him to also get the help that he needs. Now, this is not gonna be easy. This is not your fault. But I want you to know something. Let it come from the gut. Vision. So jurisdiction, I think we definitely got that play on call.
I think because he has marks on his hand, arm, minor scratches.
There's a lot over here. We have mental illness involved. So I believe, and I trust that they will separate it.
All right. Let's talk to her real quick. Okay, so a lot going on here. I just wanted to show you something. So you see my hand? See where I put my thumb like that, close my hand like that? This is an international sign of domestic abuse. It's a way for people to do it in front of their abusers. Show me that sign if you do feel in any type of way. That way, you know, he doesn't hear anything. Just keep this. All right, just think that.
We'll be crazy and yelling at each other. You know what I mean? Like, every single one.
All right, so she showed me the sign. Okay, so you're right. This is a little more serious than we thought, but a mental health value at the least, you know. Absolutely. So let's go ahead and. Sir, after consulting with my fellow sheriffs here, we're going to have to place you under arrest for domestic violence. Yes. Please put your hands behind your back. Please, sir, put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Please, right this way, sir. This way. She didn't say anything. Parents, all right, so I'll take you down to the station, figure everything out, but now, and have this towed. Is this your van?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry I have to end like this, but it is the best, okay? All right. Let's go, 6:13. Through our tragedy, that in the future, that something can come out, that we can help other people, maybe in a similar situation, reach out to these other organizations that do similar things and find out what's missing. You know, what can we do to fill that void? What can we do to help people?
Okay. Let me share my- Did y'all have any questions for me? You can type them in the chat or you can speak, that's fine. Okay, I'm gonna start my. Okay, so one thing you can do is listen and believe what they're telling you. Use trauma-enforced language like, thank you for telling me, I'm sorry that happened to you, how are you doing? I appreciate you telling me that. No one deserves that for that to happen to them. And I don't know if you noticed, but the cop, she was really good about using her trauma-enforced language. She kept it, you know, really easy for the survivor to understand, you know, that it was not her fault. She did not deserve to go through that, and that she was safe now. And they wanted to help her and get help for both of them. That's one thing that I really did like about that video. You can always use bystander intervention. So basically, only do what's safe. Isolate the victim or wait until the victim is isolated to talk to them. Don't be a hero, so keep yourself safe. If you don't think it's safe to try to help them get out of that situation, maybe go and get help. Maybe, if you can write something down and give it to someone else, do it that way. In a restaurant or store, ask someone who works there to check on that person. And we're here to help. So here we do have different resources that they're all free. We have victim services. We have a 24-hour hotline, a women's crisis center emergency housing, emergency clothing for adults and children, household items for families leaving the shelter, utility waivers, medical and SANE accompaniments, law enforcement and court accompaniment. So if anyone comes in needing help with that, we can go to the court with them. We can explain some of the bigger words with dealing with court. Also, we have legal advocacy, case management, free counseling and support groups, help applying for community resources, temporary housing, and community educational presentations. We have housing and rental assistance, rapid rehousing. We have permanent supported housing. And then, like I said earlier, we are at the college every Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Again, like I said, this is all free and confidential. If anytime you want to come there, I know Melanie has some papers there also to hand out with our information. And let's see. And here's the 24-hour hotline number. We have a text line. We have an email. I didn't put it on here, but we also have a confidential chat that I can get to Melanie a paper with our information on there. Like I said, it's free services. We have emergency shelter, counseling, support groups, legal aid, and more. And that concludes my presentation.
Yes, and so actually in at least one male and one female bathroom in every building on campus, on the main campus right now, there is actually a little card that has Midcoast information, and it has a QR code where you can scan it and it takes you to that confidential chat line. So I also have that chat line, the QR code on my door. I have some of the flyers as well. And then they have their hotline where you can call them. And so you can get connected to them on campus because sometimes it's unsafe to go to their location that the abuser may know that the person is supposed to be on campus. So if you're able to meet with them on campus, that can a lot of times be a safer environment that's not out of the norm of where you usually go. So that's why we're really excited at Victoria College to have Midcoast Family Services come to campus weekly. And then not a lot of people use that room, so it's available almost any time. If a student needs to meet with somebody from Midcoast, they can contact the Midcoast will contact me and make sure that they can use that room, and then they can use that room. And so we just try to make it as safe and get as much information out for everybody. And it's not just for students; employees can also utilize. I always focus so much on students, but employees are able to utilize them as well. Anybody have any questions for either of us or any comments?
I just want to say thank you guys for doing all this. This is a very good way to spread awareness about this. I went to college in 2010 and went through some domestic violence, and I really wish this would have been something back then. It would have really helped out. So I'm really glad this is something that's being done now.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing. Any other questions for me? Well, thank you all for joining. It was my first time, so I was a little nervous.
And so yes, if y'all think of questions later on, you can get with me and then I can get with the Midcoast if you have any specific questions about that. But I am also the licensed counselor on campus, so I'm able to address certain needs, but they definitely specialize within this. So I usually refer out to them. So just if you need information, you can always contact me. You can find my information on the website, but it's melanie.gertis@victoriacollege.edu. And to schedule appointments with me, you may have seen the around campus with the advising. So I am also the liberal arts advisor. Scanning that QR code, people may think you're just scanning it for an advising appointment because it actually links to a counseling or an advising appointment. So it's a secure way, or I guess a secretive way technically, to be able to schedule an appointment with me. Okay, we'll just give it a few more minutes to see, or another minute to see if there are any other questions or concerns or anything. And looking at the chat, lots of good feedback. Thank you all for answering or providing us with that information, and that I'm glad that we could provide you with some good information. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.